Well, welcome to the Jaden and James Real Estate Show. We obviously don't have James here today, but we've got Paul, our VP of Sales, and I think Revenue and Strategy is your current title.
Current title, correct? Yes.
Yep. We'll be expanding soon, probably.
Yep.
So, welcome to the Jaden and James Real Estate Show, Paul.
Well, thank you very much, Jaden. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for stopping in here. I think we were hoping to have some Q&A from people today. I don't know if we have anybody on the stream here with us or not. Maybe Brady can pop in some questions if we get any questions. Otherwise, we're just going to start talking about some topics here.
Yep.
Do you have our topic list pulled up, Paul?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things there. I can, if you want, Jaden, I can briefly give the 30-second of who I am and how I got here with Home Guys, if you want.
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
So thanks for having me. So I have been with Home Guys now for, I kind of lose track. I think it's like 4 or 5 years at this point. Feels like I've been with the company for a long time, but I was actually owned a business prior in the staffing industry, which, if anybody knows, that's a very tough industry to own a business and run. And if you don't love staffing, don't go in the staffing industry. And so we actually sold, and I went into real estate, and I was just doing residential real estate when I met the guys from Home Guys, and they were looking for somebody to come in and kind of take their wholesaling to another level. And so I was really excited and jumped on board, and really, you know, they had all these properties, and you can't rehab them all. And so they had kind of gotten into wholesaling, but they hadn't, like, you know, completely put the process together and done it. And so I had the joy of kind of going on that ride with them and really starting to build out what wholesaling would look like for Home Guys here in Minnesota. So did that for a couple of years and was just fantastic. And then was able to kind of jump into more of a leadership role, you know, kind of overseeing our acquisitions and our leads, and you know, really anything revenue generating, which is a lot of our business. And I've been doing that now for about 1.5 years, and just love it. Have enjoyed my ride so far. And yeah, so that's kind of where we sit today. And I've, you know, the last year's been a massive learning for me, kind of jumping from, you know, just laser focused on wholesale to kind of the entire process. So really enjoyed it. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, you've been an awesome part of the team, and we really appreciate having you and everything you've contributed. And this business changes constantly, and you have to be adaptable and flexible. And so we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I remember when it'd probably been about 4 years since you started. And I just remember you having, I think you started with, did you have 3 kids when you started, or 2?
I had 2. My third was on the way. And then about a year into, so we had my third, Joey, and about it was a year and a half in, I remember coming in the office and you guys looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, we're pregnant again. And then we had twins.
So, I just remember when you started, that you had two young kids, and then you were going to have a third young kid. And I had 1 young kid and two slightly older kids at the time. And I was like barely treading water with life with that. And I was like, and you had going on 3 little kids. I was like, you're crazy.
We are.
And you had 5 little kids.
So. I have 5 boys. The oldest is 8. And yes, our household is crazy. God bless my wife. But I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, we were the twins were a little bit of a surprise, but they rounded us out. So yeah, it's a busy house for sure.
And all boys on top of it. It's pretty awesome.
All boys. So all boys. Yep.
Never a boring moment for sure.
Never boring.
Well, we have a couple. One thing I wanted to talk about, if we get some time, is I kind of wanted to talk about, because I think there's some interest in this for other investors around the country, how you would go about raising an investment fund for your own real estate company. So we can talk about that at the end, maybe, if we get time. I think we'll have time. But let's talk about some of these other topics first. So on our list here, the current investor market right now. So you you cover dispositions and acquisitions for us, so you kind of have the finger on the pulse of the investor market. And so what have you seen from the investor demand?
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things I've learned, and especially over the last, year plus here of looking at both sides, the buyer side, like they tend to see the exact same things we do, and so it's like when we feel stuff in the market, they are as well. And so it is, can you, everybody's strategy is different. So, maybe somebody has lower overhead and they can keep prices up a little bit higher than others and things like that. But in general, the exact same thing you're feeling or that we're feeling as a cash buyer, our buyers are feeling the same thing. So you see that reaction on that side as well. And that's one of the things I've tried to share with our sales team is, a couple of years ago when the market was just crazy, and I mean, you could sell about anything, you could make a little mistake on the pricing or whatnot and get away with it. Like it's significantly harder right now because the buyers they've tightened up, they know that the other side, the market's a little bit more difficult than we've seen in the past years. So we've really had to, button up and make sure that we're offering strong wholesale deals and that, you can't squeak by on a few of them that you maybe could have before. So, I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a tighter market than we've seen before. But again, it's just, as long as you're adjusting on the front end, you'll be just fine. Like you just have to pay attention to it. Right. Like, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You got to know what the exit's going to be like and then work backwards from the exit. So you have to kind of look forward 9 months and then kind of work back to make sure it makes sense now. So, I was going to add to that, a couple of years ago during the kind of the COVID time when the interest rates were really low, we had some hedge fund buyers in the marketplace that were buying properties to rent out, and they would pay much higher prices than anybody else would pay because of their business model and because they had access to, a few $100 million of money that they had to spend. So that was, when that was going on, like you said, we could make mistakes. You could pay a little bit more. You could, do things wrong and still be okay. But now that they've been out of the market for at least 3 years now. As soon as rates went up in 2022, they basically had to exit because the stuff they were doing only made sense with very low interest rates. So once they exited, now we're pretty much left with other people running our business, the same business model we run, so unless someone's going to pick it up as a rental property, which I think we do get some of that, but probably 90% of our wholesale properties are being flipped, I imagine, I would guess.
I would agree, Jaden. I mean, and what I've seen this year, and I kind of started to see it towards the tail end of last year, but those rental buyers have become a little more scarce than we saw before. And, it makes sense. Interest rates and trying to make, you need to get the ROI. And when you have so much tied up in it, it's hard to get there with monthly rent when you're paying, higher interest rates. So we've definitely seen that. I mean, I would tell you, outside of a couple major players that are really snapping up rentals, that's gotten a lot tighter. And to your point, we used to know, rental buyers will pay a little bit more because they're spreading out, I mean, it's a longer term investment. And so when that 90+% is looking to fix and flip, the numbers have to be there. Is
there a certain area of the market or price point that you see that people are still picking up rentals?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I still see some movement, the multifamily stuff, where you can really get quite a bit of people in there and, you're generating a higher level of rent. Those seem to be moving. The Airbnb side's been quiet. Like I saw some pickup in that a couple of years ago, but that's been a little bit more quiet. I mean, what I have seen from the rental buyers, it's not necessarily a price point. I've just seen the rental buyers are not as willing to go in and do, like, they want it to be a lot closer to I acquire. Yeah. And I'm putting somebody in the next month, and there's less of that willingness to hey, maybe I got to go in and put 20 grand to get that thing rent ready. And it's okay, because I'm going to make it up over 5 years or 10, I mean, so the rent ready stuff still tends to move. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I know when the hedge fund was buying, they were intentionally buying properties that needed a lot of fix up because they wanted to renovate everything to top notch quality. But that's not the case. I know if we're buying rentals, we want them to be preferably move-in ready. If they're not, we're basically going to buy it and flip it to our rental company is kind of what we would want to do, is fix it up first, or fix it up in the rental company and refinance it as a rental. Because once you get that rental loan in place, you don't want to be doing a lot of repairs after that rental loan is in place. That's just extra capital that's going out that you're not going to get back.
Yeah. I think an interesting thing, Jaden, and I would tell anybody and everybody, like, it's good to have someone that sees the front end and the back end. And that's been a learning in this, because one of the things I've learned as kind of jumping into acquisitions as well is it's really tough to rely on just one strategy, to have just one out. And, in previous years, we could say, okay, like, this is a wholesale deal all day. Like, we're just going to sign it. We know it's going to go, all that sort of stuff. Whereas this year, we really had to be very disciplined on any contract we were signing, that we felt like we had multiple ways to dispo it, that we had multiple out strategies. And really the tightening in the market is just, it's part of that, right? It makes you like, we should be disciplined at all times, but in markets like this, and when things like this, when we see a tighter buyer's market, it forces you to be even more, and especially at our size, like, to make sure we're comfortable that we have those strategies when we sign the document, so I think
for sure,
that's kind of been a learning for us this year, for sure.
I just want to jump in and say, if anybody's on the call that has any questions for us to answer, I think there's a few people that have jumped on. I know we did some changes in the marketing last minute, so we're probably going to get less people than we thought we would get. But if you have any questions for us, we're just here to be an open book. I've got 20 years of real estate investing experience. Paul's been with us for 5 years, done dispo acquisitions. He's our VP of revenue. He knows a ton. I've done over 1,000 deals in single family. I've done commercial. I've done almost everything there is to do in real estate investing. So if you have any questions, shoot. I've done a few hotels. If you have any questions on hotels, I can answer, what I think about them. Otherwise, we'll just keep on talking here. So the next topic on our list here is Dispo 101, selling deals the right way. So I think an interesting question would be common dispo mistakes that kill credibility. This is interesting, because I think we see this with other wholesalers that come in the market. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I will tell you, Jaden, when I kind of came out of the residential side and you start looking at wholesale, and in general, everybody knows, wholesale's kind of got this connotation around it, or gray cloud, however you want to state it. Like, and it's, it lacks credibility, to be honest, is what you see in a lot of areas. The reason why I liked our company and was just wanted to jump on board was I kind of say it's wholesaling the right way. And this is what I teach. This is what I believe. And I've learned it from you guys. Sellers will react to you being honest. Like, there is actually no reason. I've never seen a reason for you to not be upfront and honest with the sellers on what you intend to do. And I can tell you from a wholesaling side, it is significantly easier for you if you're upfront. You're not trying to like sneak in buyers, or you're not up against the gun because you told them you're going to cash buy and you have no intent to do it, or things like that. Like, just be upfront. Like, this isn't the right, purchase for us, or, we can't get to the number you needed, but maybe we think we can get you there through this process. We are going to bring investor partners through, and we are going to find an investor partner that is the right buyer for your house at that number. And really, to them, it's the exact same as us being the cash buyer. give us an hour and we're just going to have somebody else cash buy it. And you're still,
Right.
you're still walking away with that number, but that transparency. And I can tell you, Jaden, from the buyer side, I have been in numerous conversations with buyers across Minnesota and the, Twin Cities in Minnesota that respect us because they know they're not walking into a situation where the seller doesn't know what's going on. Like when they show up to meet me at a house, the seller knows I'm there to show the house to them. It's not anything, and I think it's very good with the sellers, but it also gives us a lot of credibility with the buy side. And I think has allowed us to grow our list, has allowed us to, add really good buyers and repeat buyers and buyers that just know we do things the right way. So they feel good about doing a deal with us.
Yeah. I think it also helps us. The other thing I think that helps us a lot is that we run this business ourselves, flipping business ourselves. So we flip primarily, our primary business is flipping. So when we do a wholesale deal, we understand what we would pay for it, what it would look like as a flip for us. So I think we have a pretty good idea of what it looks like for another company that's going to flip it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think these other wholesalers that come in the market that are smaller operators or whatever, it seems to me like it feels a lot like they usually have no clue on pricing. Like the prices just seem like just completely random and they make no sense. That's what I see at least. So I don't know what your perspective on that is, but that's
no, I would agree with you, Jaden. I always look at it, some of it's optics, right? And if you're consistently opening up an email from a wholesaler and you're just consistently looking at it and going, man, that price doesn't make sense. Man, I'd have to offer them 50 grand less because it just doesn't make sense. Sooner or later, you're going to put them on pay no mind because it's just like their deals don't make sense. Like I'm going to ignore that email. I'm not going to,
so
you're
not going to waste your time with it.
We have prided ourselves on that, because again, we are cash buyers. So we have a pretty good idea of where this could go. That like when we put out our email and we say, this is the suggested price, it should be pretty in line with where that property should be, And so like, I think that it again goes back to credibility that people open up our email. Now that house may not be right for them, or it may be a larger rehab than they're looking for, but people aren't looking at us and going, well, wow, that price is just ridiculous. What do they think?
Right.
And we've even went a step further that if it's a rental and, the price is up a little bit higher, like we'll state that. We'll be like, this is rent ready. And this is why we're pricing it where we are. Like, so it's again, transparency all the way through.
So we had a question for Vaughn. What makes a deal easy to sell, or what does a sensible deal look like? What is your opinion on that?
Well, easy to sell. That's a loaded question.
I was going to say, I think easy to sell would be for me. I think this would be easy to sell would be like a cash flowing duplex, triplex, or fourplex at a reasonable discount to market value. And maybe not even a huge discount. I mean, maybe 10% off of market value, depending on the condition,
Yeah.
But those tend to move pretty well. But what are your thoughts on that question?
I think, as long as I'm always a big proponent of the numbers don't lie. And it's so interesting in this business because there's so many different things and so many all that. And it all comes down to like numbers don't lie, so it's like if the numbers are truly there, and this is what I've always told our wholesale team, like we know if we put a deal out and it's just crickets for like a week, we've done something wrong. Like it's not an easy to sell. We like somewhere we've missed something or
mispriced it.
Yeah, or it's mispriced or whatnot. Like,
or it was an area of town that nobody wants to buy in, which that happens too,
Very true. But again, like I look at those, Jaden, like there's buyers for those areas. You just have to make it make sense. Like it has to be at a number that makes it make sense to buy in that area. Like we may not buy in that area, or 70% of the buyers on our list or whatnot, but there's people. I've met tons of buyers that are like, I'll buy in that area all day as long as the numbers make sense, and it's like, there are some that are easy to sell. Jaden hit on the one. I can tell you when I first started, if we put duplex in the title of our email blast, our numbers, our engagement went like this, like, because those multifamilies cash flow. So, I mean,
they're just
some of
nice.
those are a
They're
lot
nice
easier.
cash flow properties. You always have somebody paying rent. If somebody moves out, somebody else is paying rent still. It's a nice small way to get into the rental market. We've got duplexes. We really like them too. So it makes a ton of sense. I was going to add one more thing. We used to say that we'll buy any property anywhere as long as the numbers make sense. I don't know if that's 100% true anymore. I think there's certain areas of Minneapolis that I don't know that you could force us to buy a property in certain areas of Minneapolis anymore because of the crime and stuff. And we've had so many experiences with, could we make money there? Maybe. Is it worth it? No, it's not. So for us, it's not. But for other people, it is. I know real estate investors that don't mind carrying a sidearm, and if you're that kind of person that doesn't mind carrying a sidearm, and you have a open carry permit and stuff, and you don't mind going in those areas, then you can make a lot more money probably because other people don't want to do that. I certainly don't want to carry a weapon at work. No interest in that at all. So
yeah, me either.
We've got another question here from Madison. How do you continue to grow a buyer's list?
That's a great question. And interesting enough, Jaden, with our licensees, and as we kind of grow across the nation, probably the number one question I get from those groups on wholesale is that question right there. Like, you know what? Like, we can go get deals, like, and we can give a path to going and getting deals signed. And honestly, I see this with wholesalers too. It's like you go get a deal, but then what do you do with it? If you don't have a buyer's list, if you have no way to then assign the deal, it doesn't mean anything, So your buyer's list is like gold. I mean, it is your path to money in wholesale. So, what I talk about to our licensees and just in general is, for us, it was, a lot of it was organic. I mean, as you start to grow and you compound. So, but to get to that point to where you can go organic, social media is huge. I mean, I think Jaden, a couple of years ago, you and I were looking at something and you were like, how many buyers have we added from Facebook? And it was just like a massive list. And that was just from actually taking some properties and putting them on Facebook, watching other wholesalers' properties. I mean, you see one put out and you just see these people respond, like, add me to your buyers list, add me to your buyers list. Like, I'm telling you, Facebook in this regard is a wealth for.
I was going to say Facebook is the first place I would go. You can put stuff on Facebook Marketplace for sale. You can post it on the wholesaler, different groups and wholesaler groups and stuff, different investment groups. And then you can actually run ads too. You can run paid ads too. In between all of that, I mean, you can collect email addresses really quickly on all that. We didn't start that way. We started differently, and we built up our list slowly. It was a little bit of a slow process. We actually started up with a lead page website where we would drive people to a website for our buyers list. It was fixeruppermn.net. And if they wanted to see any properties we had for sale, they had to put their email address into that website to see our properties for sale. And we would do some Google ads and things to run people to that website. And over time, we built it automatically through that website. And then we also started adding realtors' email addresses from the realtor database. We slowly started doing that, getting realtors on the list. And then I think when you came in, we started using Facebook and some other things.
Yeah.
But I think now Facebook is like, that's exactly where I would go right away if I was starting from scratch. Yeah.
And I mean, I've told our partners and stuff, like, hey, like, put properties out there, start generating. I will say, I know we got another question there, but just one thing I'd say to the group to be careful on is there's lists for sale everywhere. You can grab a list here, you can grab a list here, you can get these contacts. Be careful, especially if you're mass sending emails. Like, you really want to have buy-in that the person's knows you're gonna send them something, or because as soon as you send out a mass, and if a lot of people didn't want it and flag you can get shut down pretty quick. So Jaden was talking about kind of growing it in stages. Like, that is important because there really is no like quick way to just mass do it anymore. So
that's a really good point. I think the realtor database, which is like all the emails and things, you can get it through the MLS system, and there's other ways to get it too. But it's like 12,000 email addresses, and we couldn't just take that 12,000 email address list and dump it into MailChimp, because MailChimp would have, after one email, would have locked us out doing that. So we just kind of slowly added over time, because let's say we had 500 of our emails through the website, and we would maybe add 20 a week or 50 a week from the realtor list just over time and build it up. That's how we did it.
Yep.
And then people can opt out if they don't want it.
I think this question's a good one for you, Jaden.
Yeah, so I'm like, this is one of my favorite questions. I have a very strong opinion on this. Everybody's going to have different opinions about this. So I think this comes down to your personality type. And people don't talk about that. So like, I've been in real estate for 20 years, and everyone says you got to graduate into commercial properties. Got to graduate. It makes it sound like residential is like elementary school, and once you've learned that, you got to graduate to commercial, whatever. I don't see it that way, because I've done both. Commercial is more advanced for sure. I don't think it's necessarily a graduating thing. It's more of a what suits your personality type. My personality, I don't love taking huge risks and having like a lot of huge unknowns and uncontrollable factors in things. And I really don't like taking big risks with other people's money. Like, I don't like taking risks with my money that much, and I definitely don't like taking risks with other people's money. If I'm raising money from other people, it needs to essentially be like a zero risk kind of situation. That's just how I am. I mean, I don't know. I want to sleep at night, and I won't be able to sleep if there's any risk with somebody else's money. So the problem with commercial is there's always other people's money involved in commercial. From what I've been involved with, and I've been doing commercial deals for 10 plus years, I've never seen a commercial deal where there isn't other people's money involved. And that usually means like it's private money. It's joint venture partners. It's limited partners, LP, GP, syndication kind of stuff, limited partner, general partner syndication. I don't want to get into all the super technical details on all this stuff, but essentially, if you're going to buy $1 million commercial building, which is actually like really small, that'd be like very small for commercial building, you're looking at a bank's going to want, if the thing is like got income in place, you're going to need 30% down on that. If it doesn't have income in place, you're going to need more than that probably down. You need a lot of cash. So either you're bringing the cash yourself, which in a lot of cases is like, man, okay, I tied up $300,000 of my own cash in a deal. Like, that sucks too. So usually you get partners. So I've done like joint venture partners where I'll bring in half the money, somebody else brings in half the money, or I'll bring in a third. We get three partners, third. I've done a few deals like that. Tying up a lot of my own money, a lot of other people's money. I like the joint venture thing. That's worked out good. What I like about that is because these are other real estate professionals, and they know what they're doing. So I'm not raising money from them. We're doing a deal together. And if the deal goes sideways, I'm not worried about their money. They're worried about their money, and I'm worried about my money. So I don't mind that as much, because these commercial deals are, in my experience, incredibly risky. And I have a lot of experience to prove that that's true. Your risk of total loss is significant. And I have had total losses more than once. Your risk of a total loss on a single family property, unless you're doing something really stupid, I mean, we've bought 1,000, 2,000 houses. I mean, have we ever had a total loss on a house? No, it's never happened. I don't even know how it would happen. You'd have to have it like burned to the ground and have forgotten to get insurance on it or something.
Yeah, have no insurance.
I mean, you'd have to just have made a really stupid deal or something. And like, there's just single family houses aren't that hard to understand. Like, it's not, to have a total loss on a single family house is really hard to understand how that would happen. But it can happen in commercial very easily. And when I say total loss, what that means is, like, say you bought this $1 million property, you put in $300,000, so $700,000 bank loan, and then something happened to where the property is now worth $700,000, which is very possible in commercial real estate. And now your $300,000 is completely gone. It's just gone. And this kind of stuff happens frequently. I've been involved in a few of them. So I just had a total loss on a apartment complex in Tennessee, actually. And, apartment deals are supposed to be super safe, right? That's where you put your money. Memphis, Tennessee, super good cash flow, affordable properties, a good place to park your money for a low risk investment. Completely wiped out all the investors. And I was a limited partner, just putting money into it. So I wasn't the one running the deal, but I've been involved in a number of things like that where I'm like, yeah, no, it's pretty risky. So if you're okay with a lot of risk, then I think honestly, if you're okay with a lot of risk and you like you're the kind of guy that likes to drive motorcycles really fast and skydive and that kind of stuff, like go into commercial real estate. Like that's the kind of people that I see that are successful in that I think they have that kind of personality. I don't like jumping out of airplanes. I'm not that kind of guy. So not for me. That was a long-winded answer, but I think it's about personality. You can make a lot of money in commercial. You can also lose a lot of money. But if you can raise $5 million of other people's money and still sleep at night and not worry about it, then commercial is probably a good place to be.
Yeah. I like this question, Jaden, and I think there's actually a couple of different ways you could go here. But what's the smartest first investment for a new investor right now? Like their first
I've done some
investment.
videos about this just recently, actually. So I think there's two options I would look at, and it depends on the market and where you live and things like that. But the two things I would look at are a single family house, or a duplex triplex. I would lean towards the duplex triplex, but there's so many fewer of them in the marketplace. Anywhere you go, there's just a lot fewer of them. So your options on what you can get in that are going to be limited. So it depends on where you live and what's available and how the numbers work out. So I was just looking down here. I live in Sarasota area, Florida, and I was just doing a quick search. Like if I was going to buy a first property, what would I buy? And I looked for duplexes and stuff, and I didn't find anything that I really liked that much. And I like the houses down here right now. You can get single family houses in suburbs of Tampa at really nice prices right now that rent at good rents, and they're like newer houses, like 10-year-old houses. Port Charlotte, Florida, you can buy newer houses for good prices that rent at high rents, and then you can get duplexes down there too. But that's what I would look at as duplexes and single family houses. Maybe I used to say townhouses. The townhouses got kind of overpriced, so I don't know that they work anymore. And then you've got HOA fees and different things with townhouses. So I don't think I would look at townhouses anymore. But that's my perspective. If you're a conservative investor that doesn't like risk of losing money, I think duplexes and single family is a good way to go. Another one you could look at that's more complicated is mobile home parks. Those are low risk, conservative investments. They're more expensive, and you might have to raise money to buy one of those because most of them are over $1 million. But you can find some small ones that are $1 million or less, and those are good. If you get like a 10-unit mobile home park, that's just like a 10-unit duplex, but you just own the land and not the houses. Don't own the houses, just the land.
This question was interesting because I was going to just ask this to you, Jaden, like what your thoughts are on house hacking.
I love house hacking. House hacking or buying a small rental first. I would house hack for sure. That'd be the first thing I would do is house hack before you buy a rental property. So what I actually did was the first thing I did was my friend, I lived in Iowa at the time. My friend bought a house and house hacked and rented a bedroom out to me. So I rented a bedroom from him, and I got like bedroom plus all utilities and everything for $400 a month. And so I had really low cost of living, so low that I couldn't justify going and buying a place for myself to live in because it was too cheap to live in his house. So I went and bought a rental property. Then once I had that place to live in, I went and bought a rental property. But I could have bought another property myself and then house hacked that house. I bought a small rental property that I didn't want to live in, so I just rented it out. But I would house hack first, and then once you get that, get a place for yourself to live, make some money on it. Like a 4 or 5 bedroom house would be great if you don't mind that many roommates, or a duplex. You live on one side. Those kinds of deals, like they're such no brainer deals. because you can manage it yourself. You can learn some maintenance skills too by living there and taking care of the property. You can keep an eye on it because you're there. I mean, it's just like, and you live for free. It's just like a complete no-brainer. So, and then add a rental property after that.
Yeah, my first house I bought, 3-bedroom, and I rented out 2 of the bedrooms, and then I had one. My mortgage was $1,300, and I was collecting like $1,050 in rent. So I was paying literally $250 a month for my house, for the mortgage on my house.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it just, and that adds up when you go to sell it. Like,
it does.
I mean, I walked away. Yeah.
And actually, now that I think about it, my wife, she was my fiance at the time in Iowa. We bought a house together, and then she rented out the basement to a friend that paid for, I think, 2/3 of the mortgage or so. She had a 4-bedroom house. She could have rented out more bedrooms too. She just didn't really want to or need to. She just rented out the basement, and so her cost, I think, was $500 a month to live there. So, yeah, we call it house hacking, but like, I don't know, we didn't call it house hacking when we were 22. Yeah. We called it roommates.
Yeah, that's the way I looked at it. I just had roommates that covered most of my mortgage. So
we always had roommates. I mean, I liked having roommates. It's always, you have someone built in to hang out with. You had a built-in support network. There's always something to do. I never minded it. Oh wow, most expensive. I've got some very expensive mistakes in real estate. I don't know.
Which one do you want to bring up, Jaden? Which one's gonna?
I don't know if I want to talk about it. Some of them are really fresh, actually. So, yeah. So I just mentioned this apartment syndication thing in Tennessee. That was bad, and it was not my deal. I just put money in somebody else's deal, and it got totally wiped out. And it was not managed very well from the beginning. This project started 5 years ago. They did some construction renovation, improved it, and it just, there's a bunch of things that went sideways on it. The construction went sideways. The leasing company didn't do a good job. The market kind of turned in Memphis. Got a lot of bad tenants in there that didn't pay rent. And 5 years later, and then interest rates went up. And then 5 years later, the value of the building went down. Interest rates went up. The tenants were terrible. The construction never really got quite finished like it was supposed to. Ended up getting foreclosed on. So luckily, I wasn't the sponsor of that deal. I just had money in it, but I had hundreds of thousands of dollars of money in it that I won't ever get back, obviously. But I could walk away from it and go, I didn't lose anybody else's money. I didn't personally get foreclosed on. I don't have any dings on my credit. So nice thing about being a limited partner is I have no liability beyond my money put into it. But that was a big one. I've got another deal. See, that was probably my biggest that I can think of. I had another deal like 10 years ago. I lost $50,000 on a flip on Prior Lake. That seemed like a no-brainer at the time. It was a really cheap property in Prior Lake, hoarder house. We bought it for like $230,000 on Prior Lake, on the lake, like 150 feet of lake shore, flat lot. I was like, and I lived in Prior Lake at the time, so I was like, this is a no-brainer. We spent like $300,000 improving that property, and then we put it on the market in I think it was 2015. But it just sat there, and I couldn't figure out why, because it was on a bay, and it was a shallow bay, and I didn't know on these lakes, everything matters, like the bay you're on, how deep it is, how clear the water is it seaweedy or not, and what direction does the house face, all these, I didn't know any of that. So because we were on this bay, I think less people were interested in the property, and it kind of sat there for a while. I had a partner on that deal, and it just sat there. I mean, I actually thought about moving into it. We ended up selling it for a $50,000 loss that I think we might have split that loss. So I might have lost $25,000 on it. So yeah, I've had some losses along the way. I've had others too, but that's a good start.
I think, Jaden, an interesting one before we go to the next question. I can tell you guys from Minnesota home guys in this last year, one of the, biggest losses we took, and the reason why is when we are walking these properties, and numbers can make sense, but not picking up on red flags. Jaden just kind of hit on it with that lake property. was there red flags that were really going to hurt at resale that you can't fix on the rehab, And so there's a house I'm thinking about that sits in Robbinsdale, Minnesota, which is a very nice little suburb here, great resale, but the layout was terrible. And we made that thing look nice, but buyers just couldn't get past the layout. And without us going in and just structurally changing this entire house, like you're stuck. And we ended up selling it for a loss. And me looking at it from an acquisition side, I'm going back and looking and saying, and this is a learning for us, going forward is, you can't ignore the things that you can't fix, right? Like, and the things that are just going to, sit with buyers that you can't. So that was an interesting learning.
Big deal too. Yeah, the lot is big too. If you have a weird lot, or if it backs up to a highway, or something weird about the lot that's not quite normal, be really careful with that. I'd say layout and lot are the two most common things that can cause you. And then the third thing I think is a big rehab project that gets to be a lot bigger than we thought it was going to be. And we've seen this with, like, once we start estimating on $80,000 to $100,000 rehab project, those frequently tend to be 150, is what we found. And I think that Prior Lake house was like that too. I think we thought it'd be 150 and it was like 250, Yeah. So for some reason, once you get up to the 100K type range, it just expands really rapidly. So
there's that tipping point.
Yeah, it's a tipping point. You got to be really careful with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Is it better to wait to invest as interest rates are decreasing? No, it's not ever better to wait to invest. If you're a long-term investor, no. You got to just find stuff that makes sense. Like the numbers have to work. Make sure the numbers work. So the property at least breaks even for you as rental property, doesn't lose money. But there's a couple of quotes about this from real estate investors, like the best time to invest in real estate is yesterday, or 10 years ago. And if you didn't do that, then today is the next best. It's always the best time to invest in real estate. As long as you're buying, properties that are cash flow neutral or positive in good areas that are growing, good school districts, low crime, because all you have to do is just sit on them. You just sit on the property. Like, you just sit there and let it appreciate over time. So no, I would say not. I also think the problem with this idea of like waiting until interest rates come down, like what's going to happen when interest rates come down, Paul? What's going to happen in real estate?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, then the prices are going to go up. Like, that doesn't help you at all.
Yep.
You might as well have gotten in before the prices went up. So I don't see, people have been talking about a housing crash. There's no way. I'm not seeing that. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been through the housing crash in 2008, and I saw that coming. Very clearly saw that coming. The stuff that happened in 2008 is not happening right now. It's just not. I kind of wish there was some relief to this housing situation. This would come down, but I don't see it. In Florida, they're coming down a little bit. They are coming down. I just don't see a crash happening. Yeah. There's not foreclosures. I don't see those things happening like they were in 2008.
I feel like we're in an adjustment is how I kind of look at it. It's like we're in this, just like we're adjusting to coming off of very, very low interest rates, and it's just been a slow adjustment. But I agreed with Jaden. I don't see it going crazy. I think we're in an adjustment. So
yeah. This is a good question. If you had to start over today, what would be your first real estate investment and be and why? I think so. I've got two different answers for this. So I think for most people, my answer is house hacking, single family house, or duplex. That's going to be the answer for the vast majority of people. If you foresee yourself as being a long-term real estate professional and investor for a long time, and you want to get a little more advanced more quickly, I would look into mobile home parks and see if you have an interest in doing that. I did actually look into buying a mobile home park, like 13, 14 years ago. I almost bought one. I went through the process, spent a bunch of money on due diligence, and I almost closed on it. And what I didn't end up closing on it was like a personality thing. It's personality conflict. I didn't buy it because my concern was, this was done in Zumbrota by Rochester. I was like, well, after I buy this park, the first thing they tell you to do in a mobile home park investment is to raise the rents. That's the first thing you do, is raise the rents. And I was like, well, what if somebody can't pay the increased rent? They're already living in the cheapest housing in Zumbrota. Where are they going to go? And I'm like, when I thought that through, I'm like, I can't do this. Like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do own mobile home parks and invest in them. So what I ended up doing was investing in other people. I invested in a mobile home park fund. It's a national, well-managed fund that buys mobile home parks and repositions them and improves them. And I just put money in that fund and let them run the park because I just don't have my personality wouldn't have been good at that. I also didn't want to deal with the tenants, and all the problems of mobile home parks and like the kinds of issues you're going to come across. It wasn't for me, but it's a great investment. It really is a great investment, and you can make a lot of money in that. It is very, very low risk. So I would look into that if you want to be in a more advanced thing, and if it aligns with your personality. Don't do it if you're going to hate it. The other one I would look at is self-storage facilities, which are getting a lot more competitive. Self-storage facilities or storage yards, things like that. I would look into that a little bit too. That's more of a business. So you got to think of that as a business. And if you want to, be in a business where you're dealing with leads and marketing and it's a small business is what it is. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, then I would look into that too. But I honestly think those two things are for a fraction of people. I think most people it's going to be house or duplex.
I was gonna say, Jaden, if I could go back and talk to, 10 years ago, Paul, I would I'd have rentals. I mean, I honestly I probably wouldn't have sold that first house. I probably would have put renters in there and cash flowed it, and then tried to add a second rental and a third, and built up to where you've got this money coming in, but you also have all that equity that you can then take into other things. And I wish I would have known then what I know now and had the guts to actually go do that. But at the time, my wife and I needed to sell it. So it was like, but yeah, that's what I do. I start to build a portfolio.
That's why I want to do videos like this so we can reach younger people that are maybe in their, upper teens, low 20s that can start doing some of this stuff.
Yep.
When you say you buy a house to live in, when you move, don't sell it. Do not sell your house. Like, move and don't sell it. I've done this for years. Like, go get another house and keep the old house. As long as it, kind of makes sense as a rent. It doesn't have to be the greatest rental property on the planet. The fact that you already own it and it's on a good 30-year mortgage, and you've already paid it down, all these things, like, that's a good reason to keep it, I think. So, what's something about this market that most investors are misunderstanding? I don't know if people are misunderstanding the market. I'm not sure. I think the thing that I hear that I don't agree with is that the housing market's going to crash. I violently disagree with that, especially in Minnesota. Even in Florida, I don't agree with it. The market's coming down, but it's not crashing. That's the one thing I would say. But I think most investors, the people that are successful, and the people that we deal with are successful because they're doing deals. They keep doing deals. So, like, they know what they're doing. I don't know that they're misunderstanding the market. Like you said, Paul, I think they're looking at the same things we're looking at. They got a house for sale on the market. It's not selling. They're going to be a little bit more hesitant to buy a new house unless the price comes down a little bit.
I think one of the things that's really interesting is, and I wish I had like a better term for this, but it's like the interest rate freak out. And I think what a lot of people don't take into account is those interest rates we had were actually an anomaly. Like getting, like, I've got the house I'm in right now, we're at like 2.7%. That's not common. Like, it's actually more common to be at 5 or 6. Like, so this isn't like, we're not at 13 or some crazy.
We had anomalous interest rates for over a decade. Because even the 4.5% that we had for like a decade was not normal.
Yeah.
So the normal interest rates that have been around for a long time have been like the 5 to 6.5% range has been more common. And that's what, like, when I got into real estate, that's what it was, like 5.5 to 6 is about what they were. And that's that was considered a kind of a low rate at the time. So
yeah.
Oh, I lost my camera. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I say your camera just went off. We can hear you though.
I wonder why. It says my browser lost connection to my camera. Well, I guess we'll just do it with audio. I don't know what
we
happened.
can hear you. We can hear you. So the next question is, how does one use their first property as leverage to buy their next house and not sell it?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and that's a little challenging. So probably the best way to do this, here's the best way. While you're living in the first house, you can go get a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit. Since you're living there and it's your first primary mortgage and it's it's owner occupied, you can go get money, and usually up to about 90% of the house value they'll loan. So I would highly recommend doing that. And then once you have that money, then you can use that to help fund a down payment on the next property. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Once you move out of the property and it's a rental property, an investment property, your options for financing it are much, much reduced. And you will not find good options for getting equity out like that once you move out. So you've got to do it before you move.
Yeah, but it can be done, guys, and it's great. I mean, I can tell you one of the ladies that works with us, her and her husband just did this, and they've got renters in their house and nice equity, and they kept it and were able to buy another house, and like it's literally a great way to start your rental portfolio. So it definitely can be done. Oh, did we lose Jaden?
Making my appearance on the QnA. It does appear we lost Jaden there. But
we lost some knowledge there.
Well, my appearance was short lived. It was great being here. I'm
Good
let the real
seeing
pro
you,
jump
Brady.
back in. I'll let the real pro get back in here.
Okay.
Am I working now?
There he is.
I don't know if my computer ran out of memory or what happened there. It just kind of like stopped working. So
technologies. So
yeah. So I don't know if we have any other questions. We got 5 minutes left, I think, before we wrap this up.
One thing I was going to say, Jaden, too, just about like real estate investing. And one of the things that I learned when I came in here is there's also opportunities to invest without you being, you doing the work and the equity. Like there's opportunities all over to invest with people that are pros and that have done this. And and I think that's been an interesting for me to look that, man, maybe I could have just parked some money a long time ago with people that were doing this at a high level and just let my money, So I think that's another interesting.
That's a super good point. And it took me a few years. When I first started in real estate, I was like, I want to do everything myself, learn everything myself, and be the expert at everything. And so I was like, go buy this mobile home park and do mobile home parks. And then after I went through all of it, I went through this mobile home park university boot camp, and it was like all this stuff. It's a whole new thing. It's not like single family real estate. It's a whole new thing to learn. After I went through it all, I was like, well, these guys that are teaching this boot camp have been doing this for 25 years. They own 1,000 parks. I'm like, why don't I just put money with those guys? Rather than doing this myself, doing all the work myself and making a lot of mistakes and losing money possibly, and then having to deal with managing a park that I don't want to, have to manage anyway. So I just parked money with those guys, and that was like 15 years ago. And I still do. I still invest with those guys. So that was a huge. And after I did that, I was like, had this epiphany that I'm like, any real estate I want to get into, there's probably people already doing that have been doing it for like decades that are really good at it. And if I want to get into it, like I should work with them in some way rather than just trying to compete with them. Otherwise you're competing with them, which is probably not a good idea. If I go to self-storage, like it's my first self-storage park, I'm competing with every other self-storage owner in that area and in the country potentially. And a lot of them are like really experienced. So if I'm going to get into self-storage, I'd rather like JV with somebody that's already got a lot of experience, or be a limited partner on their deal or something like that, where help somebody else in some way and work with them rather than do it on my own. And I've just done that over and over in a lot of different investing. I do private equity with businesses too. And so I just stay in my lane, do what I am good at, and then partner with other people that are good at what they do.
Well, and you and Jaden, home guys, and we became very good at what we do, with the fix and flip and Minnesota and some of those things. And I think in general, like, home guys has actually been able to make people a lot of money by just, investing with us. Like, it's, there's people out there. It's like you said, mobile homes, there's mailbox money, there's all these things, but like, it's cool to see, like, I mean, even us, like in as home guys, like, we can generate money for people by just investing with
yeah,
us.
and that's yeah, you're totally right. We have an investment fund, just like all these other companies do. So if you have an interest in generating returns from single-family real estate flipping, we obviously do that at scale. We've done it for many years. We're very good at it. We're seasoned operators. Even nationally, I would say we go to these national masterminds, and we're in the top of the room of operators in those rooms. So we know what we're doing for sure.
Yep. I think that's all the questions we had. I think we got them all.
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up here. So I don't know if we want to sign off with our normal sign off. We usually say, James usually says something like, remember, we made all the mistakes so you don't have to. So that's our tagline to sign off with. So
that's very true.
We'll say that, and then we'll check with Brady here and see what else he wants to do.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.